Hey everyone, I am super stoked to be back with you guys and reviewing Games Untold by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This just came out a couple of days ago, and of course I already had it pre-ordered on Audible, so I started listening to it as soon as possible so I could review it with you guys. I really liked it overall. There were a couple where I was like, but it's basically a bunch of novellas and short stories about the Hawthorns and Avery and Libby and Avery's mom, and you get to know a little bit more about some of the things that we had questions about overall throughout the series. Oh, and please excuse my voice. I am currently thinking that I'm getting sick, so I sound stuffy and gross. So just ignore that and focus on the review, please. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll tell you all about it. Okay, so the first one in this series of novellas and short stories is called That Night in Prague. Basically, as the title suggests, you get a little bit more about what happened in Prague and what Jameson was keeping from Avery. But it's a little disappointing. There are going to be spoilers also throughout this whole thing, so heads up, don't go into this if you haven't read Games Untold. But I was really disappointed with this one, specifically because it really doesn't go into detail about what happened in Prague. You get the same amount of knowledge that we had in the book. Basically, Avery and Jameson are setting up games for each other in Prague, and then something happens to Jameson, and Avery really wants to know, but she doesn't want to ask. I would definitely ask personally, and I would be like, Tahiti, tell me right now. But that's just me. So it was more of just a, hey, let's solve a lot of fun puzzles kind of story and not a lot to it. But I did like it. It wasn't the worst, but it was frustrating because you didn't get to learn more about what happened to Jameson. Overall, 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next one is called The Same Backward as Forward. This one was so good. I really enjoyed this one. I think this was the longest story in Games Untold, and it's probably my favorite, if I'm gonna be honest, because it's basically about Avery's mom and Toby Hawthorne and how they get to know each other and what happens after the explosion on Hawthorne Island. It was so good. You get romance in there. You get a lot of backstory for Avery's mom. I loved it. I loved it all. Definitely solid 4.5 out of 5 stars for this one. Highly recommend it. If you don't read any of the other stories in Games Untold, read this one. It is so satisfying. All right, the next story is The Cowboy and the Goth, and we all know who this one is about, but sorry to disappoint, you don't get any information about Libby and Nash's baby. You do know that there is a baby, but you don't get anything other than that. So this story has one chapter as now, and it's basically Libby taking her pregnancy test. This is the very first thing that happens. The rest of the chapters are all thens, and it gives you the whole story of Nash and Libby's romance. So starting from the very first book, The Inheritance Games, up until like now. And I guess the Grandest Game was the last we heard about Libby and Nash. And then you have one last chapter after all of the thens for their relationship. You have one last chapter in the now, and they give you a little bit about their parenting, I guess. It was really cute. It was really sweet. I did love hearing something from Libby's point of view and seeing Nash and Libby's whole relationship, because you didn't get to see that a lot in the actual series. This one, 4 out of 5 stars. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it. It wasn't as great as The Same Backward as Forward, but it was way better than That Night in Prague. The next one is called 5 Times Xander Tackled Someone and 1 Time He Didn't. This one was really funny, and it was super cute because Xander is just like the most lovable character in the whole series. And it was just so funny. Like, you get a story about Xander as a 2-year-old, the cutest thing ever, okay? And then it goes on to a couple more stories, and you kind of notice, like, Jennifer Lynn Barnes, she drops subtle, okay, well, this is where we were in this part of the series when this happened. And so you get, like, you're not feeling lost as to the timeline because you get hints of when this was in the series that each of these events happened. This is for every single story, and I really appreciated that because it's been so long since I've read the whole series that I was kind of lost at first, but she gave so many little hints and drops that I was like, okay, I know where I am. But anyway, Xander's story was so sweet, so cute, and it reminds me of why he was one of my favorite characters in the whole series. And then you get more of Xander and Max, Avery's best friend, and a little bit about their relationship. I wish we could have a short story about them getting together. Like, please, I want it. We don't have anything, basically anything of Xander and Max, and I think they deserve better. That's just my opinion. So 4 out of 5 stars. Pretty good. The next one is called One Hawthorne Night. It wasn't really my favorite. Kind of just meh. It was basically about how Grayson has to atone for missing that 911 call that Xander made. And they basically just go out karaokeing. Grayson wears leather pants, and that was about it. It didn't capture my attention. Like, okay, yeah, it's a silly little goofy story, but I wasn't into it. I was just like, okay, cool. You know, we get to hear about it, but I didn't really need more details about that one. 3 out of 5 stars, flat, not the greatest. After that, they have one called Secret Santa. This one was pretty fun, but it wasn't like the Xander story. So you have Libby, Avery, Nash, Grayson, Jameson, and Xander as they play Secret Santa / assassin. They all have guns and they draw names and they have to they have water guns. I'm sorry. They have water guns and they draw names to see who their target is, and then they have to chase and knock out their target with the water gun. So it was fun. It was like a little Christmas story. Kind of reminded me of A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas, where it's like, did we really need this? But yeah, it was cutesy, not the best. Way better than One Hawthorne Night, so 3.5 out of 5 stars. After that one, we have What Happens in the Treehouse. This story is probably the one I like the least. Basically, it's just about Nash's bachelor party, and I think they go skydiving. It really wasn't that interesting. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. And then they talk about their feelings towards their grandfather and kind of get into a little emotional, powwow with the brothers, but I didn't need it. I didn't even really want it. 2 out of 5 stars. All right, the last one. I think it was the shortest story out of the whole thing, but it was the one that I wanted the most. Like, I wanted to know about this. It's called Pain at the Right Gun. This is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. It is the details about what happened to Jameson. Like, we don't get Avery's point of view where it's like, oh, I want to ask him, but he really doesn't want me to ask him, so I'm not going to ask him. No, we get Jameson's point of view of what happened in Prague and the secrets that he learns, which we already know his secrets, but I wanted to know. I needed that, I needed those details, and it is what I needed. I just needed it. I needed it. Like, you don't really get anything out of it besides what actually happened to him, and I needed to know what happened to him because we were just left hanging. But yeah, I think it lays a foundation for reveals that are going to happen in Glorious Rivals when it comes out in 2025, but that's just what I'm kind of thinking because of the way that the story played out. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Doesn't beat the same backward as forward. That one was my favorite, absolute favorite, but it's the close second. All right, that is my review of all of the novellas and short stories in Games Untold. Overall, I really enjoyed it. There were some stories that I was kind of like, I didn't really need that, but I really enjoyed it overall. Now I just have to eagerly wait for Glorious Rivals to come out to get my next fix. 4 out of 5 stars for this book. I liked it. It wasn't like blow your mind, but I mean, it's novellas and short stories. We knew it wasn't going to blow our minds, but we needed those extra stories with our favorite characters to tide us over until we get to Glorious Rivals. So let me know what you thought in the comments. I want to know what y'all thought about all of the short stories and the whole book. And if you have any suggestions for me, any books you want me to read and review, leave them in the comments below. If you like this video, please subscribe. I always make videos like this, always review books, and I love reading. I will see you guys next time.